Cisco Endpoint AMP, Orbital, CVE-2020-1472 Monitoring, Part 2, the exploit. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to GitHub and we're going to download InPacket. And InPacket is going to allow us to work with network protocols, and more specifically, the newer version is going to allow us to leverage the net logon structures. So once we get this installed or downloaded and installed, then we'll move into the actual exploit code that's required for us to go ahead and exploit a domain controller. I thought, Orbital was showing, whether or not you are vulnerable. And I thought, well, why not create a video showing how to go ahead and execute that exploit? So first thing is we'll go into InPacket directory. We'll do sudo pip3 install. We'll go ahead and do the installation. Now this will take a few minutes, right? I'm on a satellite link and it takes obviously a little bit longer, but I'll fast forward it here a little bit. I'll just streamline the video. But now we get this installed, right? And so the next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and move into grabbing that to exploit code from GitHub as well. So what we'll do is once we get the exploit code, we're going to run that against the IP and NetBIOS name of the domain controller. And the goal here is to reset the domain controller's password to an empty string as an example. And then we can go ahead and use secret dump to dump the credentials from the domain controller itself. All right, so now we've got everything installed. We're ready to go. Okay, but before this, you don't want to do this in production, obviously, if you want to test it. I have a test domain controller, but I also don't want to lose it. And so what I'm going to do is quickly run a snapshot against that domain controller so I can revert it. So we'll go ahead here real quick and take a snapshot. And let's go ahead and jump on the domain controller and capture some information we would need. Now, as an adversary, right, you would do your own reconnaissance, right? Once you land on an endpoint, you're going to expand your knowledge of the environment, and you're going to go ahead and learn a little bit about it so you can run these exploits, specifically this one against a domain controller within the environment. So we can see it's 2016. It's the version. We can also see the system name there. We'll jump into Active Directory just to show that there's some users credentials here as well, right? So we see sales 1, we got HR 1, we see bad user 1, bad user 2 as an example, right? So we've got some users with obviously accounts within Active Directory, and we'll quickly do an IP config just to show the IP address of the domain controller that we're targeting. And we'll go ahead and get the host name as well that we captured from that system information. So go ahead and run the exploit, and you can see it was pretty quick, right? We've already exploited the box. We've resetted the domain controller computer password to null, and now we're going to go ahead and dump the credentials. Once we have the credentials dumped, now we can do things like Kerber roasting. We can use, offline and crack them. We can also pass the hash, right? Once we have them, game is over at this point in time. So again, there's the command there. We run it against the system name as well as the IP address. The password's null, right? Because we reset it. And look at that. Right, HR1, bad user 1, all the credentials were just dumped. And who's winning this time, right? Is it us as defenders, or did the adversary pop the box? So system hygiene patching obviously is key. Understanding what systems need patching is going to be key to your success to defeat the adversary.